important announcement from HDFC Bank. A giant interest rate for your fixed deposit that you deposit this month. Enjoy special interest rates based on deposit amount and the government security. Call 0718 800 999. HDFC. An important announcement from HDFC Bank. A giant interest rate for your fixed deposit that you deposit this month. Enjoy special interest rates based on deposit amount and the government security. Call 0718 800 999. HDFC.
In a few moments, the news.
This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.
It's precisely 1:15. This is the news on Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. News is edited by Lakshman Fonseca and read by Sabrina Zawahir. The headlines. Prime Minister instructs to provide relief to the people in fisheries villages. Colombo Mayor appeals to Colombo residents to strictly adhere to the health guidelines. New Education Minister plans to take tangible action to resolve teachers' principals' union actions. Diabetologist says it is compulsory to take 2 COVID jabs for all the diabetic patients. Government assures sufficient amount of organic fertilizer for farmers for the new season. Waqf Board of Sri Lanka decides to temporarily suspend all Jummah prayers and congregational activities at mosques until further notice. And in world news, US takes control of Kabul airport and military flights are evacuating diplomats and civilians. And in sports, dragon boat racing introduced to Jaffna. Now the local news in detail. Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa has instructed State Minister Indika Anuruddha to prepare a set of proposals to provide relief to the people in fisheries villages by the forthcoming budget. The relevant officials have been informed to take necessary measures to provide relief to them, develop those villages and to maintain them. Instructions have also been given to look into the possibility of launching new housing projects at fisheries villages. Colombo Mayor Rosie Senanayake appeals Colombo residents strictly to adhere to the health guidelines imposed by the government. In a statement, she says that Sri Lanka is at a critical point in the battle against the spread of COVID-19. She appealed residents and visitors to Colombo to not to leave home unless absolutely necessary. In a statement, she noted that the Presidential Task Force is taking many efforts to control the current situation. Entering Colombo means you are at severe risk. Therefore, do not enter the city except for an emergency, she said. Check if the service you need is available online. She says many services related to the Colombo Municipal Council are available online. She urged the public government is permitting certain activities so that essential work can be continued. Do not take it as an opportunity to undertake any activities other than what is absolutely necessary. She also said that it is alarming to see many business establishments, restaurants, hotels, shops and supermarkets openly ignoring health guidelines on crowding, temperature checks and contact info gathering. She urges businesses also should encourage employees to work from home unless it is absolutely necessary to be physically present at work. In such instances, they should try to provide a mode of transport for the individual that minimizes exposure. New Education Minister Dinesh Gurwardena says necessary steps will be taken to resolve the trade union action initiated by the teachers through discussions. After meeting with Venerable L.A. Gunawansathera, he said last evening that he accepted the ministerial post of his own and free will to serve the nation. He added that he would engage in political dedications to the course of action for the nation through sacrifice. It is not a commitment to the position, but a commitment to the work that can be done for the people of the country. It is compulsory to take 2 COVID jabs for all the diabetic patients. Consultant, endocrinologist and diabetologist Dr. Udita Bulagahapitia says that if diagnosed early and with proper treatment and early lifestyle modification, about 60% of pre-diabetes cases can be preserved. He added over 50% of Colombo's population over the age of 50 suffer from diabetes. A 2010 study revealed that 1 out of every 10 people in Sri Lanka suffered from diabetes. He said diabetes has become an epidemic. In the past, only adults developed complications due to diabetes, but now people in productive age develop complications. Primordial prevention is essential for diabetes in Sri Lanka. Therefore, even if the patients are suffering from COVID-19, taking diabetic control drugs is a must, he added. This news is brought to you by Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.
A giant interest rate for your fixed deposit that you deposit this month. Call 0718 800 999.
Continuing local news. The Presidential Task Force on Creating a Green Sri Lanka with Sustainable Solutions to Climate Change assures to provide sufficient amount of organic fertilizer for farmers for the new season. It was revealed at its first meeting at the Ministry of Environment last evening. The task force, chaired by Minister Mahinda Amaravira, State Ministers Duminda Disanayaka, Arundika Fernando, Janaka Wakkumbura were also present at the meeting. It was also disclosed at present state funds are being spent in large amounts for chemical fertilizers, herbicides and pesticides. People are losing their livelihoods and their health is deteriorating due to the diseases caused by polluted rivers, lakes, sluices and soil pollution. Difficulties in obtaining non-toxic foods are also increasing. The Department of Muslim Religious and Cultural Affairs says Waqf Board of Sri Lanka has decided to temporarily suspend all Jummah prayers and congregational activities at mosques until further notice. Waqf Board says this announcement was made as a preventive measure against the COVID-19 pandemic, which is spreading rapidly throughout the country. Sri Lanka Police has arrested 277 more people within the last 24 hours for failing to follow health protocols. Reportedly, a total of 54,889 arrests with regard to the aforementioned offences have been made since October last year. After the interprovincial travel restrictions were tightened last week, the police have beefed up monitoring at the 12 roadblocks set up at entry and exit points of the Western Province. It was reported as many as 1,784 vehicles and 3,222 people have been inspected by the police at the Western Province borders. However, 635 individuals and 330 vehicles have been sent back for attempting to cross the provincial borders without permission. That ends local news. Next up, it's the main news story.
Now, get your EPF loan information and service details via SMS from HDFC Bank. Wherever you are, being a state and private sector employee, to obtain EPF loan information and service details, just send a SMS mentioning EPF space, name and region to 0718 800 999. HDFC Bank, the bank for your home.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
It is compulsory to take 2 COVID jabs for all the diabetic patients. Consultant, endocrinologist and diabetologist Dr. Udita Bulagahapitia says that if diagnosed early and with proper treatment and early lifestyle modification, about 60% of pre-diabetes cases can be reserved. He added over 50% of Colombo's population over the age of 50 suffer from diabetes. A 2010 study revealed that 1 out of every 10 people in Sri Lanka suffered from diabetes. He said diabetes has become an epidemic. In the past, only adults developed complications due to diabetes, but now people in productive age develop complications. That was our main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
In Watchlight, Mayor of the Colombo Municipal Council, Rosie Senanaika, urges the people of Colombo and the outlying areas of Colombo to stay indoors and refrain from going out except for urgent matters. Issuing a statement, she stated that the situation in the country is in dire owing to the ongoing pandemic and requested the public to refrain from accessing the city of Colombo, the hub of the COVID-19 virus. Moreover, she added that all workers who enter Colombo should take utmost care and act in a responsible manner. That came to you in Watchlight. A bulletin of world news follows. Taking a look at the headlines of the world news, U.S. takes control of Kabul airport and military flights are evacuating diplomats and civilians. WHO has called for a suspension on booster vaccines for COVID-19 until the end of September. England public health reports say British adults have gained weight, an average of 3 kilos in recent past. Now the world news in detail. Military flights are evacuating diplomats and civilians from Afghanistan. A Western security official at Kabul airport told Reuters. The airport runway and tarmac are now clear of crowds. U.S. forces, which are in charge at the airport, had halted the evacuation flights because of the panic and desperation of people trying to get out of the country. Joe Biden has said that U.S. troops in Kabul would stay long enough to evacuate American citizens and eligible Afghan allies and warned the Taliban there would be a devastating response to any attempt to attack or distract the operation. Meanwhile, President Biden cut his vacation in Camp David short to address the nation as the Taliban have seized control in Afghanistan 2 weeks before the U.S. is set to complete its troop withdrawal. WHO Chief Dr. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus said suspension on booster vaccines would allow for at least 10% of the population in every country to be vaccinated. A number of nations, including Israel and Germany, have announced plans to administer a third dose. But Dr. Tedros has warned poorer nations are falling behind. According to the WHO, low-income countries have only been able to administer 1.5 doses for every 100 people due to a lack of supply. Dr. Tedros said that there needs to be a reversal and that the majority of vaccines should go to lower-income countries. Public Health Report in England recently pointed out that more than 40% of British adults had gained an average of 3 kilos in recent past. The reasons for the rise in body weight seem less exercises during prolonged periods of lockdown, with emotional eating and gym closures intensifying the trend. Scientists say global obesity levels are now nearly 3 times compared to the year 1975. Scientists warn in UK rates doubled in between 1980 and 1991. Whatsoever the rising focus on these health problems, people around the world have been gaining weight since the 1960s, but continuously consuming high-fat fast foods, the report further added. That ends World News. Prior to concluding the World News, the headlines of the World News once again. U.S. takes control of Kabul airport and military flights are evacuating diplomats and civilians. WHO has called for a suspension on booster vaccines for COVID-19 until the end of September. England public health reports say British adults have gained weight, an average of 3 kilos, in recent past. With that, we conclude the world news. Next up is the development news.
Development News is brought to you by
Quality matters than price. So as an engineer, I recommend Melba RB500. It's made with virgin billets using the latest technology. Melba RB500, number one in Sri Lanka. Truly Sri Lankan.
CIB Janajay Vasana creates more and more 100,000 rupee winners every second. Valuable gifts for your bills till 31st August. Win amazing hand tractors for your over 3,000 rupees bills at the monthly draw. CIB.
Plantation State Minister Kanaka Herot said that a program has been prepared to educate tea growers on producing organic fertilizer through the Tea Smallholdings Development Authority. Organic fertilizer production centers have already been set up at the Tea Smallholdings Development Authority's regional offices and tea nurseries. He said that the knowledge on organic fertilizer production will be provided to the people through these centers. That ends development news. Next up is the sports news.
Development News was brought to you by
Quality matters than price. So as an engineer, I recommend Melba RB500. It's made with virgin billets using the latest technology. Melba RB500, number one in Sri Lanka. Truly Sri Lankan.
CIB Janajay Vasana creates more and more 100,000 rupee winners every second. Valuable gifts for your bills till 31st August. Win amazing hand tractors for your over 3,000 rupees bills at the monthly draw. CIB.
In sports news, dragon boat racing, canoeing and the swim for safety programs introduced in Jaffna. Northwind Projects, a team promoting sporting and other activities in the northern province, successfully brought together event with the cooperation of the Sri Lanka Navy, the Northern Provincial Council and the Jaffna District Fishermen's Cooperative Society Unions Federation. Under the direction of Rear Admiral Priyantha Pereira, Commander Northern Naval Area, the Navy, as part of its social responsibility program, brought the trainees and boats to Jaffna. The Navy also conducted 2 weeks training course for 8 trainers from Jaffna. A bio-bubble was created at the 4th Hamnhale on Karinagar Island, which the Navy trainers and the Jaffna trainees entered after passing PCR tests. They stayed in this bio-bubble for the entire 2 weeks, food and accommodation provided by the Navy. That was sports news.
Contributory deposit of 1,000 rupees from NSB when your child enters grade 1. Open a Hapan Children's Service account for your kid today. Higher interest. Conditions apply. Business News. Sponsored by National Savings Bank. The safest place for your money.
Love's Gas will resume supplies to the domestic market on August 20th. Love's Gas Chief Executive Chamindri Vikrama says they have placed an order for a shipment and expects to restart operations in a small way on August 20th. He added that the Consumer Affairs Authority used its coercive powers to block a price increase throughout the year 2020, making the firm lose 1.8 billion rupees in the 6 months to June. That ends business news.
Business News. Sponsored by National Savings Bank. The safest place for your money. Contributory deposit of 1,000 rupees from NSB when your child enters grade 1. Open a Hapan Children's Service account for your kid today. Higher interest. Conditions apply.
Economic news, courtesy of...
Saving money isn't easy when you have responsibility. That's why we promise to give you the best returns and guarantee on your investment. LOLC Finance Fixed Deposits. Maximize your savings. LOLC Finance PLC, incorporated on the 13th of December 2001, is rated SLA stable by ICRA Lanka Limited and is licensed by the Monetary Board of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka under the Finance Business Act number 42 of 2011.
Sri Lanka is to receive over $2.65 billion USD foreign receipts in the next 3 months. State Minister of Finance and Capital Market Development, Ajit Niwad Cabral, says that this would come via currency swap, IMF and other methods. He added Sri Lanka is expecting $780 million USD by the end of August through the IMF new special drawing rights proposal. In addition, swap facilities too would help to boost up foreign reserves, he said. These include $400 million USD from the SAC Finance swap facility from the Reserve Bank of India in August 2021, $250 million USD from the Bangladesh Bank in July, and also from China. Minister Cabral also said that it is to strengthen the foreign reserves that some import restrictions were imposed while exporters were egged on. He said that one of the major areas that bring in foreign exchange of around 4.3 billion USD is tourism, but it has dried up. That ends economic news.
I bought my daughter a laptop for her work by managing my finances. Whatever the expenses may be, I can't afford to miss out on life's special moments like her birthday or our anniversary. So you need to invest to make your family's future flourish.
Saving money isn't easy when you have responsibilities. That's why we promise to give you the best returns on your investment. LOLC Finance Fixed Deposits. Maximize your savings. LOLC Finance PLC, incorporated on the 13th of December 2001, is rated SLA stable by ICRA Lanka Limited and is licensed by the Monetary Board of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka under the Finance Business Act number 42 of 2011.
Weather report was sponsored by
Dialogue, in partnership with the Ministry of Education, introduces Nanasa, a trilingual educational mobile app with video-based lessons for grade 1 to A-levels. Now your child can study with ease on your mobile with no subscription fee.
Finally, it's a look at the weather report. Met Department predicts showers will occur at times in western and Sabaragamuwa provinces and in Galle, Mathura, Kandy and Nuwara districts. Fairly heavy showers, about 50 millimeters, can be expected at some places. Showers or thunder showers may occur at a few places in the Uva province and in Ampara, Batticaloa, Vaunia and Mullaitivu districts after 2 p.m. Fairly strong winds up to 40 to 50 kilometers per hour can be expected in the western slope of the Central Hills, North Central and Northwestern provinces and in Hambantota and Trincomalee districts. General public is kindly requested to take adequate precautions to minimize damages caused by temporarily localized strong winds and lightning during thunder showers. That was the weather report.
Weather report was sponsored by
Dialogue, in partnership with the Ministry of Education, introduces Nanasa, a trilingual educational mobile app with video-based lessons for grade 1 to A-levels. Now your child can study with ease on your mobile with no subscription fee.
Prior to concluding this bulletin of news, the headlines once again. Prime Minister instructs to provide relief to the people in fisheries villages. Colombo Mayor appeals Colombo residents to strictly adhere to the health guidelines. New Education Minister plans to take tangible action to resolve teachers' principals' union actions. Diabetologist says it is compulsory to take 2 COVID jabs for all the diabetic patients. Government assures sufficient amount of organic fertilizer for farmers for the new season. Waqf Board of Sri Lanka decides to temporarily suspend all Juma prayers and congregational activities at mosques until further notice. With that, we conclude the news.